This is Deinocheirus, a huge ornithomimosaur and one of the most bizarre dinosaurs ever discovered. For nearly 50 years, it was known only from a pair of gigantic arms. Those arms alone were enough to make it one of the greatest mysteries in paleontology, and once the rest of its body was discovered, it only got weirder. Deinocheirus means horrible hand, referencing the enormous clawed forelimbs that were all science had to work with for decades. It was discovered in the Deinocheirus Formation of the Gobi Desert in what is now Mongolia. Deinocheirus lived during the late Cretaceous period, approximately 70 million years ago. Deinocheirus belongs to Ornithomimosauria, the bird-mimic dinosaurs. Ornithomimosaurs are characterized by their long necks, small toothless heads, long legs, and lightly built bodies. They are among the most bird-like of the non-avian dinosaurs, and most members of the group were fast, slender, cursorial animals built for speed rather than power. Deinocheirus is the largest ornithomimosaur known and lends its name to the Deinocheiridae. In almost every way, Deinocheirus is the most extreme departure from what the Ornithomimosauria was thought to be capable of. Its existence expanded what we understood about the ecological range of this lineage, demonstrating that ornithomimosaurs were not exclusively lightweight pursuit animals, but could also produce heavily built omnivorous giants. In 1965, a joint Polish-Mongolian expedition to the Gobi Desert uncovered something remarkable. A pair of arms, each about 2.5 meters long, tipped with 3 large curved claws. Nothing else of significance was found with them. The arms were unlike anything previously described, and when the specimen was formally named in 1970, the rest of the animal remained completely unknown. For nearly half a century, those arms were all that existed of Deinocheirus. Paleontologists could tell that it was a theropod, but that was about it. They could speculate, and they did, wildly, but without more material, the true nature of this animal was simply unknowable. When they scaled up known theropods at the time to match the gigantic arms, they came up with some impossibly huge creatures, some of which were downright monstrous. Oftentimes, paleoart simply depicted the predator attacking from out of frame, showing only the uncanny, ominous arms. 2 additional specimens were eventually discovered in the Deinocheirus Formation, one in 2006 and another in 2009. But when researchers arrived at both sites, they found that fossil poachers had already been there. The skulls, hands, and feet, the most commercially valuable elements, had been removed and smuggled out of Mongolia. What remained were headless, footless skeletons. Extraordinary, but incomplete. The missing pieces surfaced in a European private collection in 2011, identified by a French fossil dealer who recognized their significance and alerted researchers. A single toe bone left behind at the quarry matched perfectly with the recovered foot, confirming the connection. The looted elements were repatriated to Mongolia in 2014, and the complete picture of Deinocheirus was finally published, nearly 50 years after those first arms were pulled from the ground. Deinocheirus measured up to an estimated 12 meters in length and weighed around 6 tons, making it one of the largest theropods known from Asia and by far the largest ornithomimosaur ever found. The arms, already famous before the rest of the body was known, measured 2.4 meters from shoulder to claw tip. The claws themselves were blunt and curved rather than sharply pointed, suggesting they were used for digging or raking vegetation rather than capturing prey. The skull is where the surprises begin. Rather than the small, narrow head typical of ornithomimosaurs, Deinocheirus had a long, broadened skull ending in a wide, flattened bill, similar in shape to a duck's, though on an altogether different scale. The lower jaw was deep and capacious, likely housing a large, muscular tongue suited for scooping and processing food from the water. Along the back, the neural spines of the vertebrae were dramatically elongated, forming a prominent hump or sail structure rising above the body. The function of this structure is still debated. It may have anchored powerful back muscles, stored fat reserves, regulated body temperature, or served a display function, or possibly all of the above. The legs were proportionally short for an ornithomimosaur, and the feet were broad and flat, better suited to moving through soft, muddy substrate than to high-speed running. A pygostyle, a fused structure at the tip of the tail typically associated with birds, was also present, suggesting a fan of feathers at the tail's end. The body almost certainly had a feathered covering. The Nemegt Formation preserves one of the richest late Cretaceous ecosystems in Asia. The environment was a broad river delta, channels, floodplains, shallow lakes, and wetlands supporting an extraordinary diversity of life. The climate was semi-arid with seasonal rainfall, producing a landscape that shifted between productive wet periods and drier intervals. Deinocheirus shared this world with some of the most formidable animals of the Cretaceous. Tarbosaurus, the Asian counterpart of Tyrannosaurus, was the dominant apex predator of the Nemegt, and bite marks attributable to Tarbosaurus have been found on Deinocheirus bones. The sauropod Nemegtosaurus and the hadrosaur Saurolophus were among the large herbivores sharing the floodplains, while smaller theropods, crocodilians, and turtles occupied the margins of the waterways. Deinocheirus has been described as a mega omnivore, an animal that ate essentially everything available in its environment. Its duck-like bill, powerful tongue, broad feet, and wetland habitat all suggest a diet centered on aquatic vegetation scooped from the beds of rivers and lakes. More than 1,400 gastroliths, stones swallowed to grind food internally, were found in the stomach region of one specimen, consistent with a diet of tough plant material. Fish remains were found alongside those stones, indicating that aquatic prey was also part of the diet. The blunt arm claws were likely used to rake through vegetation or dig into soft substrate rather than to capture prey. The overall picture is of a large, slow-moving animal working the margins of rivers and wetlands, head down in the waters, scooping, sifting, and swallowing whatever was available. This feeding strategy has parallels in living animals. Modern large omnivores like bears and hippos occupy similar ecological roles. Bulk feeders that exploit abundant, low-effort food sources while remaining opportunistic. Deinocheirus appears to have filled a comparable niche in the Nemegt, its enormous size making it largely immune to predation as an adult, while Tarbosaurus likely targeted younger and weaker individuals. Deinocheirus is one of paleontology's great detective stories, a mystery that took 50 years, 3 discovered specimens, a fossil poaching scandal spanning multiple continents, and a repatriation ceremony in Mongolia to finally resolve. What it revealed was something nobody had predicted from those original arms, a duck-billed, humpbacked, feathered giant wading through ancient Mongolian rivers, swallowing fish and plants by the mouthful. Deinocheirus is a reminder that the fossil record does not always reward assumption. For decades, those arms suggested something monstrous. The full animal was stranger, and in many ways more interesting, than anything the imagination had produced in the interim. In the river deltas of late Cretaceous Mongolia, Deinocheirus was not the fearsome predator its arms once implied. It was something far more unusual, one of the largest omnivores the Mesozoic ever produced. Hey everyone, if you're as passionate about dinosaurs as I am, consider checking out my Patreon at patreon.com/totaldino. When you join, you'll be able to request your favorite dinosaur to be featured, and it'll be up on social media within a few days. You'll also get exclusive previews of upcoming content, dinosaurs, and art not yet posted anywhere else on the internet. I really appreciate the support, and again, that's patreon.com/totaldino.